So, what if that movie you watched last night wasn't just entertainment? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful religious viewpoint that sees modern media as a key battleground in a much bigger spiritual war. We're looking at a source that argues there are hidden dangers in what we watch and listen to. So, let's unpack that. All right, first things first. To really get this viewpoint, we need to know what they mean by secular entertainment. And the source defines it pretty broadly. It's not just the obvious stuff. It's basically anything, movies, music, even cartoons, that doesn't go out of its way to glorify Jesus Christ. If it falls outside that very specific religious frame, it's considered secular. And this is where the argument really raises the stakes. From this perspective, media isn't some neutral thing. The source claims it's the result of a literal, strategic meeting in hell with one single goal: to use television as the fastest, most effective way to lead people astray. So how does a big, high-level decision like that actually become a plan on the ground? Well, the source material lays out what it calls the devil's grand plan, where entertainment is seen as the perfect tool for the job. Okay, so this viewpoint breaks it down into a pretty clear three-step strategy. Step 1, the decision to use TV. Step 2 relies on a really basic human tendency. We tend to copy what we see. But the third step is absolutely crucial. It's the way this influence works. It's subtle, it's insidious, and it works on us unconsciously over time, shaping our behavior whether we realize it or not. And to take that even further, the source claims the content itself has a supernatural origin. The argument here is that a lot of movie scripts aren't just coming from human creativity. No, they're believed to be directly written or commissioned in hell, all to push this agenda forward. So, after laying out this big externals threat, the argument kind of shifts gears and turns its focus inward. It starts talking about the internal spiritual conflict that's believed to happen inside a Christian when they engage with this media. A really core belief here is that for a Christian, God's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, actually lives inside of them all the time. This means they're never really alone, and their body is considered a sacred space, a kind of temple. And this is where you get the central conflict, according to this viewpoint. On one side, you have this simple, everyday act of watching a movie. But on the other, the source argues, the stuff you're being entertained by is often full of things the Bible speaks out against, creating this huge internal contradiction for the believer. And that brings us to the real gut punch question the source asks its audience. If the Holy Spirit is always right there with you, inside you, is it also enjoying this stuff? The question is designed to make watching media not just a personal choice, but a spiritual one. From there, the argument zooms out again, from the individual person to society as a whole. It explores what this perspective sees as the ultimate goal of secular media: to make sin look totally normal and to shift the entire culture. So the long-term goal here, according to this perspective, is basically a form of cultural brainwashing. The idea is that through constant exposure in our entertainment, behaviors and attitudes that were once seen as sinful just get normalized. We see them so often they start to feel like everyday life. And the source material gets very specific here. It points to key behaviors it believes media is normalizing. You've got things like swearing and the glamorization of drinking, but also what it defines as sexual immorality and immodest dress. It even calls out specific things like women wearing trousers as a departure from its biblical standards. The ultimate result of all this, the source claims, is a complete inversion of values. The goal is to make a culture where things once considered holy become embarrassing, while behaviors the Bible condemns are reframed as things to be proud of and celebrate. So this entire line of reasoning builds to a really definitive conclusion. This isn't just a matter of personal taste. The source frames it as a mandatory, urgent choice for every believer, a choice of choosing a master. And to make this final point, the argument pulls from a really well-known biblical principle. The idea here is that consuming secular entertainment isn't just a casual hobby. It's framed as an act of service, an act of allegiance. You're either serving God or you're serving the world system. There's no in between. And what you end up with are two totally different paths a believer can take, and you can't be on both at once. Path 1 is to consciously cut out this secular media, which the source says will lead you to have a stronger opposition to sin. But path 2, continuing to engage with it, is argued to inevitably, eventually, make a believer's love for God just grow cold. Really, the final takeaway here is that there's no middle ground. This perspective stresses that even if culture and society's norms change, God's standard for holiness doesn't. And from this viewpoint, the ultimate goal for a believer is to be completely separated from the world, not blended in with it. And so, the source material leaves us with this one last, really provocative question. It basically distills the entire argument down into a single personal challenge, turning the simple act of picking a movie into a deep moment of spiritual reflection. And that's our breakdown of this particular religious take on modern media. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.